So guys, I saw an interesting question, and this person asked, BJJ dads, does it get easier? So this person is a new dad of a 4-month-old, and they're starting to feel like every session, they're like a walking zombie. They're sleep deprived. They feel like they're useless in sparring. And at this point, they're starting to think, is it worth it to keep showing up to jiu-jitsu and feeling like you're not progressing, and it's just the classes are getting tough, and just jiu-jitsu seems really hard, or a lot harder than it's been. So great question, and as a father of two, I think I have some insight in this, so let's get into it. So guys, this person goes on to say that they only train about 3 times a week. They're content with that. They value their time with their kid, but there's a lot of frustration stemming from like just a decline in performance and just not improving like they want to, which is totally understandable. When you have a new child, it disrupts your whole routine. All your world kind of centers around this new being, this new thing in your life, and it kind of takes precedent over everything. And so a lot of times your own well-being, or how much you can take care of yourself, and your relationships and jiu-jitsu and your health can almost take a back seat in a lot of capacities, and it's tough to adjust. But I will answer the question, does it get easier? And the answer is yes, it does get easier. One thing I realized about being a new parent is how much more time I had before. So how much time I had before the kid to do more things and possibly be more productive. So now, one thing I realized, when I became a new parent, one thing I realized was that you have to be so much more deliberate with your time, and because there's not so much of it. With this question, BJJ dads, I'd say BJJ parents, moms, dads, does it get easier? I say yes. So I thought of 10 ideas that could help you with your jiu-jitsu and progressing in this time of all this new changes and new challenges. So number one is you have to start by accepting the fact that your jiu-jitsu is going to look a little different. Priorities have changed, and you're not going to be able to put as much attention on jiu-jitsu, and that's okay, but you have to accept the idea that jiu-jitsu is still there, but it may not take up as much of your time and as much of your energy because you have so much more going into taking care of your child and balancing all the things that life throws at you. So accepting the fact that your sleep is probably going to decline, and you're going to be a lot busier and not able to do as much of the self-care that you usually do and be as sharp and as awake for jiu-jitsu. So just acceptance of that idea that you're going to have some decline in performances, and that's normal, and that's part of the process. So number two is being flexible. You have to be flexible with your schedule. Understand that maybe you train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but that may not always work out. Things pop up, doctor's appointments, other life things pop up. So try to be flexible. One way that I am flexible is that we have numerous classes throughout the day, some really early morning classes, some evening classes. So some classes I make at 6 a.m. if I can make it. Again, some classes I make later. So I try to be flexible with my schedule and just attending different class times, just trying to make it work and squeeze it in as I'm able to. So number three is be focused with your training, be intentional with your training. I've talked about this before. Have a game plan when you're going into training. If you have a technique or something you're trying to work on, have that in your mind, focus on that, try to take notes. Again, have an intention in training because you don't have as much training time, or your training is going to be a little bit more limited. So have a focused game plan going in. Try to spend about 6 weeks on this specific technique or focus in your training to try to make some progression. So number four is studying outside of class time. So that may be studying instructionals, going down the rabbit hole on some jiu-jitsu techniques through YouTube. Again, going back to that focused training, have something you're trying to work on, but study it outside of class. So when you do go to class, you're able to implement or try to work on those techniques. So studying courses, instructionals can be very helpful. So number five is visualization. So visualization is a powerful tool. A lot of elite athletes utilize visualization to work on techniques, get those mental reps in. So think about the movement or the technique you're trying to implement, visualize yourself hitting it, visualize yourself going through the movements, feeling the technique. So visualization can be very powerful, very useful to help progress when you're not able to train as much. Number 6, focus on things you can control. Your diet, your strength training. So if you can't make it to the gym as much, your recovery, that's another thing. So think about the things you can control. One thing for me, I didn't eat as well when I was a new parent. I had, kind of eating what I can. So if you can find some time to meal prep or to really be mindful about the foods you eat and getting some strength training in, getting some cardio in, those can definitely be beneficial in the progression and also in your performance on the mats. So number 7 is one of those things that can be useful for some, but I would say solo drills. So solo drills can be useful if you have a yoga mat or even a couple of jiu-jitsu mats that you can move around. I'll sometimes use an exercise ball to work on guard passing, work on cardio, work on getting some movement, stance and motion drills. A lot of wrestlers do stance and motion, which is working on some techniques, kind of solo drilling. That can be helpful. Again, you're getting your body into the movements. That can be helpful in conjunction with visualization. So you're visualizing yourself going through the techniques and through the movements you're trying to perform. So sometimes I use an exercise ball, those big balls, to kind of move in and out of positions and kind of work on guard passing and also work on my cardio a little bit specifically for grappling. So that can be something some people utilize. Again, helpful for some, but something that I would encourage you, if you're even a newer grappler, it can be helpful in keeping those movements kind of in your head and in your body. So see if your wife or husband or family members can help out with childcare to get you to training a little bit more. So yes, childcare is a struggle as a new parent. With childcare, it's not something you've probably ever had to think about before having kids. So now it's like, hey, if I'm gonna step away and train, somebody's gotta watch this baby. So try to recruit some of your family members to help out, to maybe watch your child for a couple hours here and there so you can get out to train. A lot of family members, for example, my parents didn't quite understand, like, why do you need to go to jiu-jitsu? They didn't really understand the impact that jiu-jitsu had on my mental and physical health, and like me doing some things for myself to step away, to focus on training, actually helped me be a better parent, help me be more present and more focused. So try to educate, your parents or family members on exactly why you feel like you need to train, and that's different for a lot of us. Again, for me, it allowed more focus and more presence when I was at home doing childcare or with family. So educate those people around you, try to explain to them, why jiu-jitsu is important, and having that, I guess, self-care. For some people, jiu-jitsu is self-care. Having that time to really do this thing that you enjoy can be beneficial for you and the family. So number 9 is bringing your child with you to the gym. Yes, it's a little bit controversial for some. Some people don't feel comfortable bringing their child with them to jiu-jitsu. We have a really awesome gym at Derby City MMA, and we've had people bring their kids to class. Usually some of the members are hanging out, sitting around. They're happy to watch the kid for a little bit. Actually, at the 6 a.m. classes, they were a little bit smaller when we first started them out. And one of our members, Evan, was a new dad, and he'd bring his kid with him at 6 a.m. and they'd hang out. They'd either be in a pack and play or just hanging out on the mats, and then you'd take them with him to childcare and drop them off at childcare after jiu-jitsu. So again, usually, talk to the coaches or some of the members. If somebody's cool hanging out with your kid for a little bit. Again, training is not going to be as focused because you're going to be keeping an eye on your child, making sure they're safe. But that's sometimes an option for some. You can bring your kid with you to the morning classes or the afternoon or evening classes. Usually some members there will be happy to hang out with your child for a few minutes here and there while you're training. So the last tip is be realistic about your goals. Try not to be too hard on yourself, with the understanding that you are training at a limited capacity. Also, all your focus can't possibly be on jiu-jitsu, right? You have so much going on being a new parent. So take that idea and just think about jiu-jitsu and showing up to class as a drop in the bucket. Every time you show up, it's a little bit of progress in the right direction. It may not be as much as you want to make, but again, making it in is really the important thing at this time, and continuing with having some type of consistency and some type of routine is really important also. Try to focus on your own progress, and if you can, don't compare yourself to others. There may be a training partner that you guys were very close. You were neck and neck, and all of a sudden this person or your training partner is getting better than you, and that's okay. You guys have different circumstances and different, environments that you're living in. So take that idea and just try to avoid the comparison trap of comparing yourself to other people. Just try to really focus on your own progress and just being in jiu-jitsu and training and being on the mats. Try to use those lessons that a lot of us learn from jiu-jitsu of being patient, being resilient, and you're gonna weather the storm of just all these new things in your life, but it will even out. And I think that if you can keep that consistency of making it into class and being realistic with just getting in and having just some good training sessions, not necessarily focusing on trying to make huge gains in your game, but making incremental improvements. Like we said, those little drops in the bucket, they're gonna pay dividends. So those are my 10 tips for new BJJ parents. Hopefully they're helpful for you. If there's something I didn't mention, put them in the comments down there below, and good luck, and talk to you guys next time.